I'll call this a special meeting of the Harlingen City Commission, which has been duly posted to order. And if you'll at this time join me in prayer. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody to our meeting tonight. I'm glad to have you all here. And the first thing that we're going to do, item one, is to present a proclamation proclaiming November 26th, 2018 as Santos Cantu Day. So, Mr. Cantu and his family want to come forward. Is he here?
Yes, he's sitting in the back, man.
Good, how about yours? I was in Dallas. I know it was spectacular. Better than here.
Cantu, come on up here. Today we have a proclamation for you, whereas the City Commission of the City of Harlingen wishes to recognize the outstanding service and significant part of Mr. Santos Cantu's devotion of his life to the City of Harlingen, has given unselfishly his knowledge, technical expertise, and dedication to the city and its citizens. Whereas Mr. Cantu shared his loyalty and dedication of his job with his wonderful wife, Maria Elizabeth Cantu, and whereas Mr. Cantu began his career with the City of Harlingen as a laborer in the Parks Department on November 23rd, 1979.
Wow.
Later transferred to the Sanitation Department as a refuse truck driver on March 10th, 1982. Whereas Mr. Cantu was known as a great team player and would go above and beyond what was expected of him, and whereas Mr. Cantu is leaving the city for a new adventure, and his smiling, friendly face will be missed by all. His service to the city was exemplary and worthy of a special notice, whereas Mr. Santos Cantu retired on October 30th, 2018, after 36 and a half years of commendable dedication to the City of Harlingen. Now, therefore, I, Chris Boswell, Mayor of the City of Harlingen, on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby express our sincere appreciation to Mr. Santos Cantu for his loyal and dedicated service to the city, and hereby proclaim November 26, 2018 as Santos Cantu Day, and extend our best wishes to him and his family. Mr. Cantu. Say anything?
Okay, muy buenas tardes, me da mucho gusto estar aquí, realmente agradeciéndole a mi Dios por lo que me ha hecho hasta este día. Estoy agradecido con todos los doctores, mayordomos, que son todo mi trabajo, es un placer trabajar con ellos. Estoy agradecido con todo lo que recibieron haciendo mi trabajo. Dios me los bendiga a todos.
Item two is the presentation of recognition plaques to the sponsors for the 4th annual Run Walk with the Heroes RGV 2018 event held September 22nd, 2018 by the Harlingen Police Department, Chief of Police and Executive Staff. Chief, I'm still waiting for my trophy. I believe that I won the Mayor's Division.
They're still trying to work on your time, Mayor. They're still trying to work out your timing.
Should have been a default.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, behind you.
Yeah.
great event, Chief. Tell us all about it.
Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, it never gets old coming in front of you and giving away a lot of money from our very, very generous community. And today's a great night, the fourth annual Run with the Heroes 2018. And this year we raised, our two charities were the Make-A-Wish Foundation of the Rio Grande Valley, and we raised enough money to fund a trip for a terminally ill child, which we're going to give that check out in just a minute, and then also for our own City of Harlingen Humane Society. And so we're very excited we chose those two charities this year, and our community came together. Folks behind me, many of them are sponsors that we're going to call up in just a second, but it's our fourth year. Many of them, this is their fourth year with us as sponsors. And that speaks to what a generous community we have, and I'm very blessed also to call many of them a friend. Many of them behind me are a friend also, not just sponsors. They're really good folks. So I'm going to turn it over to Commander Osborne, and I want to thank our district representatives. Most of them are in the room here today. They do all of our major events for the police department, and we don't give them enough credit, I don't think. They do our barbecue cook-off, the 5K, the Shop with a Cop, which is coming up December 19th. It's not too late to sponsor a child. But I want to thank them publicly for all they do every day and put on these major events for us. So, Commander Osborne.
Mayor, City Commissioners, I'd like to announce the names of our sponsors, and if I call the company name, you can please come up front and to get recognized, please. First and foremost, Briggs Equipment. I'd like to have the sponsorship from Briggs Equipment step forward, please. We also have the Exceptional Emergency Care, Downtown Harlingen District, Harlingen Medical Center, Oil Patch Fuel and Supply, Stericycle, South Texas Emergency Care.
I'll wait for the end.
Yes, they are. Palms Behavioral, China Restaurant, RGV Credit Union, Central Air and Heating, Valley Baptist Medical Center, Veranda, Crunch Fitness, La Vaquita, also the Harlingen Convention and Visitors Bureau, UniFirst, Footworks, Neighbors Emergency Center, now VBMC, Liberty Tax and Freedom Insurance, Chick-fil-A, Watermill Express, Avant Premium Water and Ice. Yes, there was someone suspicious in the crowd, we knew it. Avant Premium Water and Ice, Harlingen Consolidated Independent School District, Russo's New York Pizzeria, L&F Distributors, Frankie Flaves, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, and Cynthia Loya, Keller Williams Realty. I'd also like to have the two charities please come forward, the Harlingen Humane Society and their representatives, and representatives from Make-A-Wish Foundation. Rio Grande Valley.
So I'm very excited this year, Humane Society, Harlingen, our own city of Harlingen Humane Society, $5,000 check.
Everybody look this way.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Chief, thank you for another great event. All of the men and women of the HPD for organizing and putting this thing on. Congratulations to all the sponsors. Thank you all. So item 3 is the special recognition to the Finance Department recipient of the GFOA's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year ended 2017.
Elvia's gonna come up, Mayor. I know she's anxious to come up. You have it? You have it over here.
Are you going to, it says you're,
It's for you.
Hmm?
If you don't mind.
all right, now you have to come up, though. And search him. Says certificate of recognition presented to the City of Harlingen Finance Department recipient of the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, the highest form of recognition in Harlingen County financial reporting for the year 2017. And, you know, we know it, on the City Commission, we know what a great job Harlingen Finance Department does. All of you have to work to help you with the outstanding work that you do. Always detailed and accurate and timely, and that's what we need. And it's all recognized every single year, year in and year out, by this organization that looks at these kinds of financial reporting documents. And the work is also something that is recognized through our auditors every year. We know that we get the information to them on a timely basis, make their job easy, and a great camera for us. So we're very proud of the work of our finance department does. I think that all the City Commission joins me in expressing our appreciation and recognition for a really great organization there at the department. Something that all the citizens of this city should be very proud of. So thank you, congratulations.
I just wanted to say that we get very excited because just for those people that don't know, after graduating, this is our 37th year in a row. So now it becomes like we don't want to be the first not to get it. So we're very proud of it, but it is a team effort. It's not just done by one person. It includes the entire city that submits information to us. And then, of course, it's our job to clean it up and put it together. And now it's become more Santos' job. So today's my last day.
That's not what this plaque is.
Okay, next item is the item number 4, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of September 26, 2018. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? All those, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion, minutes are approved. Consent agenda items 5A through C. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Item 6, consideration possible action to approve the naming of the ballroom, meeting rooms, pavilion, pre-convene, and bridal room for the Harlingen Convention Center.
Mayor, members of the commission, the convention center is getting closer to completion every day, and so the contractor had asked that we consider what rooms we want to name at the convention center and what those names will be. Now, he's asked if we could supply those to him tonight, or tomorrow morning, rather, so if we could, I'd like to get some sort of consensus from the commission today. The rooms that are up for naming are the ballroom, meeting rooms, pavilion, bridal room, and the pre-convene. Now, we don't have to name all of them. These are just some suggestions. We could leave the pre-convene as just the pre-convene area. And the bridal room can just simply be the bridal room. But we would like to have names for the grand ballroom and the 2 meeting rooms and possibly the pavilion as well. This is a layout of the site. The grand ballroom encompasses this entire area, and it could be broken down into 8 different rooms, but we only want one name for the entire grand ballroom. The other sections would be simply whatever name it is, A through H. So, and then the 2 meeting rooms are down here. Again, each one of them can be reconfigured into 2 separate rooms, but we only want one name for each room. Then, of course, the bridal room is up the north part of the building. Yeah, and here is a pavilion, and then this is the pre-convene. This is just a bigger snapshot of the site. Again, these are the rooms, the venues that we want for you to consider naming, so it'd be possibly up to 6 names. Now, the one thing that we would like to do is perhaps if the rooms could tie back to the mural, it would join the rooms along with the mural itself. This is Harlingen's future. The theme here is birding, the medical center, the crossroads, the interstate highway going through Harlingen, and the international crossings that we have. And then, of course, the palm trees are a theme throughout. This is Harlingen's past, and the theme here is the Iwo Jima Monument, cotton industry, the waterways that run throughout Harlingen, and the rail. And then again, of course, the palm trees throughout the city, and we do have some birding theme here as well. So if we could consider possibly naming the rooms that would tie back to either the past or the future in the murals, I think it would be a good theme for the convention center. I sent out an email to the members of the mural committee and asked for possible names. And I also reached out to the birding festival members, and they came up with these names for birds. I'm not going to go through all of them, but these are the names that the birding community came up with. These are also more names from the mural committee. And then we had names submitted from BC Lend, and these are those. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's a list of them in your packet. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to go through them and figure what you might feel comfortable with. Now, this is what the naming plaque would look like, only for the 2 meeting rooms and the ballroom. It would have the name of the room up on top engraved into the apparatus, and then this would be a digital display that would showcase what event is being held in the actual room. The plaques for the pavilion, the bridal room, obviously would be different, maybe just configuration like that, and perhaps for the pre-convene as well. So I don't know if you have any questions about what names you might be considering or what theme you'd like to start off with. But we would like to get some sort of consensus from the commission on what those would be, so we can get them back to the contractor right away, so he can start creating these panels for us.
I'm all in favor of the bird names.
Okay. Now, the one thing that the birding center did say was that if we only chose one, they would prefer the Great Kiskadee. So perhaps if we did that, that maybe that might be suitable for the grand ballroom.
That was going to be my suggestion, is this Kiskadee is all over town.
Yes.
And so that's our center focal point of the grand ballroom. That's what my recommendation was going to be.
It's also the birding festival's logo, one of the birds.
Correct.
Today. Any other suggestions for?
Whatever we could do to maybe shorten some of them up, like the plain Chachalacha, we could maybe change that to just Chakalaka.
Chachalaka.
And how would you handle the buff-bellied hummingbird?
Well, that's what I mean.
Gently.
You know, that's what I mean. We might want to, I don't want to offend any birders, but You know, we could have the Kingfisher Room. It just seems like they're kind of long, some of them. I'm fine with the Great Kiskadee and the Green Jay and the Red Crowned Parrot and all that, just.
Think we should include one of the doves, one of the rooms that's a dove? Have a lot of doves.
Have you all considered?
White Wing Room.
White Wing.
Have you all
Well, I didn't
considered-
want to go to the High Week. Well, I mean, that makes sense, but
Well, I was gonna ask if you considered any of the businesses in town that have been here for many years or have contributed to the city for many years, as maybe for the business meeting rooms, for the, something to that
Well,
effect.
Commissioner, what we focused on were the murals.
I know, I get that, but I mean, you
Yeah.
have a pavilion that's, or I'm actually just looking at them, because the bridal room is actually a different, that's something else, and the ballroom, I agree with you all.
Yeah. Where is the bride room? Somewhere I missed that.
it's in the back.
Let me go back to the.
But I was thinking more of, like,
corner.
you know, Mr.,
Okay,
There he goes.
it's right there.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
before you name names, maybe I would like you to maybe consider, you know, birds don't get offended, and the green kingfisher will not be offended if we don't name a room after it. My point being that if we start naming individuals, if we start,
Yeah.
you're going to, you know,
Might
somebody's gonna
upset
say,
somebody.
why wasn't I considered, or
Right.
why didn't, I mean, you know, certainly, you know, they name schools after people, but they go through they usually go through a nomination process, and they submit, you know, people submit applications, and you kind of argue for why that should be named. The birds, I think, will, you know, are, anyway, I just wanted, before you started naming names,
Right.
I wanted to just caution you and suggest that could be an issue, but
He had the Boswell.
whatever y'all
Room
wanna do.
down here.
well, Boswell's out now.
yeah, I tell you, yeah, unless you want me out there with a hoodie every night, you know, with the spray painting my name out of it, yeah.
I think we should stick to the theme of the birds.
When I first saw this, I looked at it and I saw the list of birds, and as I went down the birds, I said, which ones do I see all the time in town? What can I associate to Harlingen? You know, the great kiskadee, the green jay, it's
grackle-
unique.
the grackle
The
was
grackle. Well, we can also use those ones that have the red-tipped blackbirds. You know, they come through once a year. But as I looked at this list, you know, I'm like I don't know, somebody said, why don't we stick with the bird theme? I can't remember who said that, but
I did.
I kind of felt the same way.
Yeah.
You know, as I thought about town, different things are in town, what are they named? You know, we already have a Tyler Street, we already have a Harrison Street.
Right.
But some of these, I think this is really unique to us.
Right.
And I kind of liked it. And so my suggestion would be, you know, we pick 6 birds out of here and figure out which one goes to which room. But I have to agree that the Grand Kiskadee and the grand, you know, the ballroom, that should be out there paramount.
Why don't we let the CVB and somebody from the birding festival maybe, and the developer
Come up with a.
pick the names
From the
from this list.
from the bird.
From
And they
this
might- and They
list.
might want to add, I don't know, I mean, we don't have spoonbill on here or anything like that.
All these bird names came from members of the Harlingen Birding Festival. So they actually, I asked them to give me names that they would want, and these are the ones that they came up
Right.
with.
And like I say, when I looked at the list, I found about 6 names that I think they're very common for our city.
Well, is the consensus that we stick with birds?
Yes.
Yes.
From this list?
From this list.
Okay, and you want us to work with the developer and the CBB to pick,
Yeah, they may feel that buffed belly hummingbird may be too long,
okay?
and so we'll let them choose which 6 birds, except for the grand ballroom. If we have a consensus on the grand ballroom, we can always do that.
Yeah.
Gabe can
What was the name of that bird?
do that. Gabe can work
The
with
great
them to pick the
Kiskadee?
names.
Okay, well
Like the
then,
one at the top, it's the yellow bird with the black and white mask.
But we all agree that the grand ballroom is going to be the Great Kiskadee.
Yes.
Grand
Yes.
ballroom. Okay, so that one's set, that one's set.
Yes.
And what about, do you want to have a name for the pre-convene area, the bridal room, and the pavilion? We can always leave the pre-convene just as a pre-convene, but it's,
Well, I think you might as well, you've got those 6 rooms, the grand ballroom, the 2 meeting rooms, pavilion, pre-convene, bridal room.
Okay.
Just pick 6,
Okay.
pick 6 bird names.
okay.
Am I mistaken, but the pre-convene is available for rental on its own, is it not?
Yes.
As a gathering spot? We should
Yes.
have it available as a name.
Okay.
I'd like to see one of them named Dove, either White Wing or just Dove.
Doesn't the White Wing get shot?
Well, that's why I was just using Dove, because it's short, and I didn't want to use a White Wing because we have White Wing season in September.
That's where we put the indoor firing range.
Yeah, so I think the guidance would be, we can make a formal motion here in a minute, but I think the guidance is, you might want to, even though they gave us this list, you might want to consider a few other bird names like White Wing or, and that other than the Kiskadee that we know, I think I agree that we should try to shorten, I think buff-bellied hummingbird is too long.
Yeah.
Correct.
Maybe we should try to find some
Hummingbird.
names that are a little shorter.
And I didn't know the Kiskadee was the Great Kiskadee. I just said,
I
oh,
didn't
there's
either.
another Kiskadee,
I
you know?
didn't either.
If, so we called it the room the Kiskadee, that would be okay.
So anyway, that would be the guide, So is there a motion to
So moved.
authorize the name the 6 rooms after the birds to be picked by the developer, the CVB, with a preference to shortening the.
Second.
And do we leave the Kiskadee as the grand ballroom as
with
part of the
Grand-
motion?
Grand Kiskadee, yeah.
Yes.
And so there's a motion, and we have a second. Any other discussion?
You have something, Jeff?
Yes, I would like just to mention that there are a total of 9 total meeting rooms with all the breakout rooms. You have 4 right now, and then you also have the ballroom that's, New York has 5 rooms.
As long as they're birds.
Would you like us to name those other rooms? Because I know I go to a lot of places and they'll say they're Kiskadee A, B. And that means that if you rent the whole thing, it's the Kiskadee, but if you're renting half of it, it's Kiskadee A or Kiskadee B.
Right,
That would be fine, that would be fine.
that was the plan.
That was the plan,
Right.
but he brought up the 4 meeting rooms. Do we want to name them independently? And we can use like the White Wing, the Dove, the Chachalaka, and the,
Like,
I think we can work with the AB and.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Right.
That makes more sense to me.
that was the plan. And then just have A through H for like the grand ballroom and then,
A through H, right.
right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay. Items number 7 is consideration possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading amending ordinance number 2017-10, section 1, to allow the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages at Lozano Plaza for sponsored or co-sponsored events.
Mayor, members of the commission, we would like to add Lozano Plaza to the list of parks that, or areas that can have consumption of alcohol only when it's a city-sponsored or co-sponsored event and for a nonprofit. We had a request from the Rotary that wants to have an event there to possibly raise funds for the library. And so right now, the sale of alcohol is not allowed at that particular location, so we'd like to amend the ordinance to include Lozano Plaza for those events, and staff recommends approval.
Do we always have to have that it's a nonprofit? For example, if Baxter Lofts wanted to have a event there, could they, and we would sponsor it with them? They're not a nonprofit. I mean, what's,
Well, this is for the sale of alcohol.
Right.
If the Baxter wanted, I don't know how this is probably a legal question. If they just wanted to have it and offer it to their guests, I don't know if that would be allowed.
as long as we were co-sponsoring, I just wondered what the reason for it always being a not-for-profit was.
Because I think if they wanted to have an event, they can always rent one of our venues, like Casa de Amistad, Casa del Sol, and sell it there.
I know, we usually have that not-for-profit because they're raising money. But if somebody has an event there and they're just gonna serve alcohol and they're not gonna raise money, you know.
I think from what I remember is that when we do these, if it's when they're not-for-profits, it's usually a public event versus a private event that you would have at Casa de Amistad or something like that. I think that's what I remember from the last time we talked about this. Does that ring a bell with anybody?
Well,
So is this not for public?
No, it's open to the public, but it's a nonprofit that's holding the event, so.
Okay, so what is then they're gonna get a bunch of requests afterwards, no? I mean-
No.
It has
So
to
we,
be.
we said it has to be a nonprofit and co-sponsored by the city. So if it's a
Sponsored or
for,
co-sponsored?
or sponsored or co-sponsored, so if it was a for-profit and co-sponsored, it would not be eligible for alcohol.
Right.
We don't typically, we don't co-sponsor or sponsor for-profit events.
Right.
For a nonprofit, raising money for a public use, education, for instance, to fund a park, team room, or a children's library area, those are things that we partner with. Other than that, we don't partner.
Right, and we do have other venues where a private company could come in and rent, like Casa Amistad, Casa Sol, and actually sell alcohol from there.
Well, and I just add, but we also have park pavilions that they can use.
Right.
And that's what I remember from the last time when we talked about, why is it limited to nonprofits? It's because they have to be partnered with us, and we normally typically don't.
I just figured it was right across from Baxter Lofts, and they might want to use it in the future for,
Well, they can use it for anything except if they want
Anything
alcohol, that might be an issue.
right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, if they wanted to have their residents for a wine and cheese or something in the afternoon as a resident, they don't have very few other places to gather other than outside somewhere like that.
But we could always look at the ordinance later to see if it could be amended somehow. But right now, we're just recommending that we leave it only to nonprofits because it makes it easier for us to actually have an event there
This would allow the Rotary to have their event, their fundraiser.
next February. So, and
Staff
it
is
is,
recommending approval.
right, and it is for the
Okay,
library.
well,
I'll motion for approval.
Second.
we need to have the city attorney read the caption.
An ordinance of the City of Harlingen, amending ordinance number 2017-10, amending Chapter 9703B5 of the Harlingen Code of Ordinances to allow for the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages in Lozano Plaza by a charitable and Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission permitted vendor, which meets city insurance requirements in conjunction with activities which are sponsored or co-sponsored by the City of Harlingen, providing for publication, and ordaining other matters pertaining to the foregoing.
And a motion and a second.
We have a second?
Yeah,
You
second.
didn't want to amend it to,
Well, I mean, I'm not getting anywhere with that.
all right. We have a motion and a
What
second.
did you want to amend it to?
Any other discussion?
Wait, well,
The
go ahead,
discussion
go
was
ahead.
whether he wanted to amend the ordinance to allow
For-profit.
other users to,
For a private for-profit?
I'm just saying because of the location.
No, and I'm getting, but I mean, I think, do you want
It's
to make it
almost
where it's?
like a courtyard for that property.
Correct. But I'm saying, do you want to amend it where it's only, or they don't have to be
Well,
co-sponsored?
Can anybody rent
Right, there we
rent
go.
Lozano Plaza like you can rent, like in the other parks, like Gutierrez
We don't-
Park or Pendleton Park?
It's available to anybody to use, but we don't really rent out that area. There's no fee to rent it out. It's mostly an open plaza area. So it doesn't have a rentable space that we have on our ordinance. They could go in and use it anytime, but they may have a problem if they
Get
I mean, when
arrested
you-
for
I mean, when
open
you rent,
container.
when you rent one of the parks for a party, if you reserve the pavilion at Victor Park, you can have beer there, right?
Yes, you can.
For a private party.
yes. You just can't
But
sell
you
it.
have
can-
to sign an agreement and
We'd have to designate this as a park in
There
order for
you
that to
go.
apply.
There you go.
Yeah, and yes, and it
Okay.
hasn't been designated as a park for several reasons. The other is you'd have to establish a fee to rent it out.
okay, so we just haven't done that. So if we get to that, then we could
We could bring it back.
deal with it. So why don't we leave that alone for now?
That's
We can
fine.
revisit it. Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right. Consideration of possible action to approve an ordinance on first reading to amend the City of Harlingen's budget for fiscal year 2018-19. Sergio?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. The item before you is our first budget amendment for the fiscal year. This budget amendment is to increase total revenues budgeted by 1.7 million and total expenditures by 5.8 million. Attached to the agenda item is Exhibit A, which will show each special revenue fund as well as the general fund, total revenues, total expenditures, and the detail of each line item we're amending is attached in Exhibit B. The purpose of this amendment is to budget unspent funds from 2018 for items that were encumbered and ongoing projects that were rolling over to 2019. This is something we do annually. We're also budgeting the purchase for the golf carts and the creation of the Air Service Development Fund. And staff recommends approval, and I can answer your questions.
Anybody have any questions? And if we could have the city attorney read the caption, please.
An ordinance amending the revenue and expenditure budget for the city of Harlingen, Texas for fiscal year October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019. Total budget revenues will increase to $75,720,985, and total budget expenditures will increase to $82,589,277 respectively, providing for publication of the caption of this ordinance and ordaining other matters related to the foregoing.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading?
Motion approved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you. Consideration, number 9, consideration possible action to approve the placement of the convention center signage.
Mayor,
Carlos?
Commissioners, good afternoon. The item before you is, again, to bring to your attention and for discussion and approval, the placement of the sign that's going to identify the building as the Harlingen Convention Center. Previously, earlier this month, there was a rendition or a presentation to you all by the marketing team that showed the Harlingen name being placed, I believe, here on the top ridge of the roof. Due to design issues or having to redo or reconstruct this ridge, it has been an alternative is being brought to you because of that expense that would be involved in redoing that part of the ridge. What the design team is proposing at this time is the placement of the assigned lettering up along the top roof wall, and it'd be illuminated so that it has the visibility both or primarily during night from the expressway. So this just to give you a concept of how it would look. Again, we're talking about this actual pictures from the construction site. We're talking about this wall that sits here. Obviously, this is an elevated view, which more or less would be something that you would see from the expressway. This wall right here on top of the roof is about 8 feet tall. And so I'm assuming that the lettering, and I haven't confirmed this with the design team, but the lettering is going to be big enough and bright enough to where you can still see it from the convention, from the expressway.
At least 6 feet.
I would need to confirm that, Commissioner, but it will be designed to have that visibility from the expressway. There is concerns, obviously, and I'm not sure that you can see it based on the illumination of this photo here, that as you approach the building, the portico shade is gonna block some of that view, and so a supplemental sign, if you would, could be installed at this glue lamp beam as a, I guess, secondary sign if that was something that would be directed to us at this point. Again, as you get closer to the building, the visibility kind of becomes a little bit more challenging of the sign. So we are bringing to you this item for your acknowledgement and approval.
So where's the logo going to be placed? I thought we had done a logo.
The logo, Not certain, and Jeff, you might have a little bit more insight on this, but I don't know that the logo is gonna be.
It's the
At
H.
at the previous meeting, the logo was thought to be, and wouldn't pass engineering specs with storm specs, the weight and the anchoring of the logo
On the building?
on
Okay,
the
so
building
we're
without
gonna find a
change, yeah.
different place for that?
Yeah, there'd be too much of a stress load.
Okay.
What's the recommendation? I don't know.
Yes.
So I think the recommendation, Mayor, is to place it up on that wall as it's shown on the picture. And as far as the logo, Jeff, can we add the logo to one side of,
I'll be with Brandon on that.
because I think we want, that's part of the branding, right? And we want to start putting that out there. And it might be a good idea to go ahead and add the logo on one of the sides, or on both sides for that matter. So can we get with Brandon on that, please?
And if the architect obviously could see about the size and placement of the letters, the higher, if you center them, you're probably going to lose sight of them fairly quickly as you approach the building. So whatever consideration could be given to that. I'm just sitting here wondering, you're going to have people taking pictures in front of it, and they're going to, if they're close enough to take a picture of a person, they're going to see half of the lettering.
And Carlos, can you go back to the other, can you fast forward, please? No. Go up that one. So that beam in the front, that suggestion from Carlos on adding an additional name right there, maybe with our logo, that's something that we will do after, near completion, right? Or after it's completed. That's not part of the contract at this point, but we thought we'd add one down at the bottom because you do lose sight of the sign when you get up closer to the building. And that beam is pretty visible, and it's a good-sized beam. What is it, about 24 inches? No, it's bigger than that.
About 30 inches.
About 30 inches. Which would be, and to your point, Commissioner, on the photo op in front of the fountain, you would catch the name of that, of the convention center from that beam.
Right.
So that's something that we did talk to the contractor about. I had a conversation with him about putting it there. But it was recommended that we add the larger sign up on top and always add a secondary sign on that beam. And that's something that we can do.
So would the second one be lead or not?
We would have to talk to them about that. There will be electrical. Keep in mind that the columns are going to have that color changing lights. So electricity will be available at those columns. So we could pick that up and run to the lettering if we needed to do that.
The picture that you have that shows the font on that thing, I hope is just a representation, because it just looks kind of plain. We've got letters like this that certainly are more interesting than.
Okay.
Can I ask a stupid
Point
question?
taken.
When we did the initial, the layout, we didn't have any signage on the building. Is that correct?
That's correct.
We had no signage at all.
I don't recall any sign.
And my recollection, if I go around some of the other event centers, as I drive between here and Houston and here and Austin, I don't remember big marquee signs on the buildings. What I remember are the pylon signs that indicate you're at that convention. Like the Austin Convention Center doesn't have this big sign that sticks up. Can't see it from the freeway. I'd rather see us take the money that we're going to spend on that big sign that you're not going to really appreciate unless you're on top of the freeway, and have a nice sign there. I didn't think about the photo op. You got a great idea. Somebody standing in front, take a picture, they get to see it. Use the lettering, style lettering that represents our city, and spend the money elsewhere. I don't see a benefit from that.
Weren't we gonna do something with the naming, or the naming rights, or is that still on the table?
We still have the naming rights. We
So,
have not worked.
couldn't we put that?
Well, and that's one of the conversations I had with the contractor about putting it in that front beam and not on top.
Correct.
Because if we put it at that front beam, it's much easier to change it out.
Yeah.
I like the leaving it off the top there, because I just don't like what that does to the building at Harlingen Convention Center. I'd rather do something with letters like this in black or something like that, same kind of metal across that beam
Right.
that are more tasteful and
If you stand in front of the building and take a picture, you're going to see the tops of those letters. That's
Right.
all you're going to see. And I think it's just distracting.
So did the idea of putting this, putting that up there come from Hilme? Or whose
That-
idea was that?
Was that Hilme?
It was
Jeff?
Helme.
he's the design guy. I can tell you those letters weren't his idea.
Well, I
I-
could, it seems like we had this conversation a long
probably in that
long
special
time
meeting.
ago when we were developing the specs, and that somebody asked the question, do we want the sign on the side of the building? And I thought we said no.
I can't.
I thought we had that conversation.
I'd rather put that money into
Elsewhere.
the beam in
Well,
very nice
But
letters.
we can certainly do that, Commissioner. We can not put the sign up on top and simply do the one across the beam. And that one will be visible no matter where you stand.
And you can
Right.
do- And you can do a nicer one.
And if we ever sell the naming rights, we can change that out pretty easily.
Right. Okay.
Also, I would suggest, and just looking at the photos again, if we are going to change that to that view, also, especially for photo opportunities, you have that beautiful water fountain that's going to be right there, right front and center. Is there an opportunity maybe to put any lettering on that bottom wall of that, or even a logo, the H that was drawn up there?
That's,
For additional photo opportunities.
Like a lighted
or even your
logo?
patio in that fountain.
that would be nice.
Okay. Well, I think what I'm hearing, I mean, the issue was, for tonight, was if we had to make a decision so they could order signage, if we were going to put signage on the exterior of the building, right? So I think the consensus is everybody doesn't really like the idea of putting,
Not once I've seen it this way and
Okay.
realize that as you're driving up.
okay.
There's no,
So
there's no.
we can actually defer the design of additional signage above the beam or on the fountain or on a monument sign. Those things can be done later, right?
The only catch would, if we tell him to do it now, he can run the electrical and all for the backlighting on the beam, instead of us trying to do it later. Now, we can do it later, but right now, it's much easier to install it, because it's still open.
Even if we don't use it, it would be smart to have the electrical.
Yeah, run the conduit
Okay,
in.
well, I thought you said we were going to do that later.
No, we can do it, we can do it later. I think what I said was, we can do it later.
Okay.
It's just, right now, it's wide open, so it's a little easier, but it's nothing to prevent us from doing it later.
And so on that porte-cochere, do we have any electrical in there, say if we wanted to decorate that for Christmas
There
or
you go.
run lights or whatever? We probably need to have some outlets that are switched above those columns
Designated-
anyway.
And designated just for that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right now is the time to put a little extra around that porte-cochere because things are going to change. I'm sorry, Dan.
I don't know that we have electrical.
Dan's an
under-
electrician, he can just put that in on the weekend.
I don't know that we have electrical under, I doubt that we have electrical under the porte-cochere. I know that we have it in the columns for the lights, but they're specifically for the lights.
Correct.
Well, if we just had some, a duplex exterior watertight plugs under there where you could get them to,
By remote, by the phone?
it's pretty easy to do it while you're.
Okay.
How about an Alexa? We just talk to it.
We can,
That's,
we have a guaranteed maximum price contract with the developer, and we add more.
No.
Then we pay more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The sign
That-
is.
that-
saved a bunch on that sign right there.
Well,
Took
and,
that
and,
down.
and we have a contract with them that says, any shared savings doesn't come back to the city. All right? Any shared savings, because we have about $200,000 that we need to make up on the contingency because of the guaranteed maximum price. We didn't take all the value engineering recommendations from the contractor. So,
All right, well,
I
but
just wanna-
the decision, right, but okay, but
so we don't have, Mayor, we don't have to add the sign at all. If that's what the commission wants, that's what we'll do.
I think we just want you to come back with something for the beam for us to look at. That's,
well, I think I don't think anybody objects to you running the electrical to backlight a sign on the beam,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Nobody objects to that. So that's fine.
At
I just
least
think,
that.
I just don't think we're gonna approve that signage unless there's some reason why somebody thinks we need to do that.
The lead time to order the sign, right? That's the purpose, that's why we're doing this?
Yeah,
Right.
there is.
But I mean, I'm still asking the question, like, who's recommending that we, because who's recommending that we put that sign
The
up
last
there?
conversation was, that was the architect's recommendation.
It's been in the conversations, I guess, couple months or so.
With the architect.
From the architect and the design team. But I think they've always have operated with the understanding that there was a naming placard to be put on the building itself, so. We
Okay,
just
well-
never decided where.
I think the consent, is there a motion to direct the city manager not to put that sign where it's,
I'd make a motion that we not at this time install the sign on the fascia there at the top.
and go ahead and run the electrical to,
Go ahead and run the electrical to the beam
for a sign to be
for a sign.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right. Item 10, board appointments.
No, I don't like it at all.
Any board appointments?
None.
No board appointments. And we go to item 11, which is executive closed session on the following items. A, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 552.072 and 551.071, to deliberate, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the city of Harlingen for the third person regarding the acquisition of real property for transit terminal expansion. And then items B and C under sections 551.087, 551.0871, and 551.072 of the Government Code regarding commercial and financial information from a business project with which the city is conducting economic development negotiations, and or to discuss or deliberate financial and other incentives with business prospects known as Project Dream and Project View. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to meet with our attorneys in conference room. We'll be back. There'll be no action on any of these items when we return. All right, well, we're out of executive session
We don't
at
have quorum.
6:49.
We don't have a quorum there.
No one has signed up for, well, we're out of executive session, 6:49. Nobody signed up for citizens communication on item 12. So that concludes our meeting, and we are adjourned.